Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my guest co-host tonight from all the way across the pond, Andy the Bridge Burrows. But we are also joined by returning guest, Mr. Zach Selby. But just wanted to say the Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. By Mr. Selby, a fantastic, hot Friday evening. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm a little tired. It's kind of weird. You know how like a lack of work sometimes like makes you feel all like the work you put in the past previous weeks. It's kind of how I feel. Like the draft was rolling, then we had schedule release, we had rookie mini camp, and this week really wasn't that much going on. A lot of just a basic week, and then you realize like the exhaustion catches up to you. But after this week, I'll be fired up, ready for OTAs, ready to get back into it.
Yeah, and you say it was a kind of a boring week, but it wasn't on the Twitter sphere, given with the fact that D'Angelo Hall went on the radio and had a lot of questionable things to say, not only about the organization, but Ron Rivera himself. And do you find that his reasoning for leaving the booth has merit?
I mean, as far as I know, I don't want to speak on that too much because it's never really done any of my business, but I mean, that's just his opinion on things. Like, I mean, if he has something he wants to say, that's his prerogative. But obviously we all still love D'Angelo.
Of course.
The organization.
But one of his quotes was that this team doesn't do anything to move on, to go forward, staying where they are. Do you agree with that assessment?
I mean, no, because you look at it like Carson Wentz, that's a step forward. I mean,
they tried for Matt Stafford, Russell Wilson.
Yeah, reportedly, according to reports, they also, I think they got better at running back this year. We'll bring in Brian Robinson in the draft. I think Jahan Dotson helps the receiving core out a lot. It was a really quiet free agency, but they also, they lost Brandon Sheriff, but they brought in Andrew Norwell, who is a really experienced starter. So, I mean, to me, I feel like they're moving in the right direction. And then especially with the schedule being the way it is, tied with the Dallas Cowboys for the easiest strength schedule, which, to be fair, that doesn't really mean all that much in May 20th, 5 p.m. Eastern time, but it is, something to consider. It's not nearly as difficult as it was last year when they were going against, Pro Bowl caliber quarterbacks, week in, week out. So I feel like they're making progress. I'm really pumped up for what they're going to be able to do this year.
Zach, the quarterback aside, where do you feel that the Washington Commanders have improved the most in the little offseason that we've had so far? And what are you looking forward to seeing from that position?
I think if I had to name to like a position, because there's quite a few, I would probably either put it between running back, because I do think that, and it's not like they were bad last year running back. I just think that Brian Robinson is that much of an addition because he's really one of my favorite picks of the entire draft class. But I would also say that tight end, I think, is going to be very interesting because it's weird if you look at how this position was situated a couple of years ago before Ron Rivera got here. I mean, they were contributing a combined total of like 300 something yards. I don't have the stats in front of me, but it was they had Jeremy Sprinkle, they had a couple of different other options that didn't really work out. So you get Logan Thomas, make him into one of top 10, arguably top 5 quarterback tight ends in the league. Then you bring in John Bates, who is a phenomenal blocker. I think he led the entire the entire league and for his position in PFF in terms of like run blocking. And then you also have Cole Turner, who is an exceptional pass catcher. He runs the routes very well. Something I noticed about him in rookie minicamp is that he really seems to accelerate once he gets the ball in his hands, and that's always something you really like to see. And I think once Logan comes back, and that's a date that's still kind of to be determined. But I think you get your all-around guy, you've got your pass catcher and Cole Turner, you got your run blocker who is an underrated pass catcher as well. He's got some very good hands in John Bates. That's a complete tight end room that, I mean, if you look at where it was at a couple of years ago, it's just a complete 180.
Yeah, Zach, by the way, your hair looks phenomenal. I should just start off by saying
it always does.
It does. It always does. I know. It's top 3 hairs of all time, I've heard too. So,
but not uniform hairs.
Hairs, yeah, just a few of them. I don't have any, so I can't really say anything. But so you already touched on the tight end position a little bit. I think a lot of fans kind of expect that to be a pretty big position battle. I mean, depending on Logan Thomas, when he's going to come back. And if he doesn't come back for the beginning of the season, I mean, who's going to step in there and who's going to win out behind John Bates? Who else is going to get some playing time? Because like you said, they do have some good bodies. But outside of tight end, what is another position group battle that you are excited to watch for this summer?
Outside of tight end. So I already really touched on running back a lot, so I'm not going to go into that again. But I will say again, Brian Robinson, favorite pick of the draft. I think I'm looking at secondary and I'm looking to what Percy Butler can do.
Yes.
Because if you just listen to what any of these coaches are saying about him, it really gets you excited because he has the ability to be that Buffalo nickel that's gotten so much pub this offseason. Who's going to be that guy? Who's going to be able to replace him for Landon? Like, who's going to fill that spot? And he has exactly what you need. I mean, he has the versatility for one. He's super physical. Needs to kind of tune up his where he focuses that physicality, because the one that knocked on him during his draft evaluation that he did miss on some tackles. So if he can find a way to focus that's really going to help out a lot. And it seems like they really like him a lot. They think he's going to be able to contribute pretty much immediately. And I know a lot of people were kind of turned off by the secondary last year, and somewhat that is fair because they were second best in the league 2 years ago in terms of passing yards allowed, and
bottom 5 last season.
Yeah, last year just kind of wasn't that. So I think you get another year with all that group, because there were a lot of new pieces in that secondary last year. So you get Bobby McCain back, you get Kendall Ford back. You get William Jackson another year together. You add in, Cam Curl, and you got Percy Butler in there, really going to push hard for that spot, presumably. And then also, don't forget about Christian Holmes either. He's a really physical guy. Like he has some tools. I think it's going to take a long time for him to develop, but he has a very good attitude about being a man corner. I think that's really where he makes his money. So I think. And another thing, defenses, they're never quite the same as they were a year before, right? I mean, just take what they looked at like last year as an example. But I think this year they're going to be much, much improved just based on the options that they have.
Right. Real fast, I think it sounded like Ron Rivera off break expected big things from Percy Butler, and it really kind of put a lot on his plate immediately for him to play. So
I mean,
100% right.
He said, he feels like everybody in that draft class can contribute, but especially those first 4 picks, Percy Butler included in that, is people who's going to really kind of help this team take a positive step that he's been talking about pretty much since, not even before the season ended, week 18.
Right. And real fast, I got to go find my son's pacifier so that way he can take a tiny little nap, because he is freaking out. Hold on one second. The old lady has a pneumonia, so.
I'm sorry about that. But Selby, recently the Commanders just came out with part 4 of the Command Center, and they released it on YouTube. And they brought up an article that you had wrote about Phidarian Mathis, which is what the episode was basically around. So if you can, kind of give us a description of what that article was about with Phidarian Mathis.
Yeah, it's funny because it was 2 days before the draft started, and I had a notification on my phone that John Allen and Deron Payne were going to come on a Twitter Spaces event. I'm like, I'll just record this, see what they have to say. And they talked about Phidarian Mathis and how big he was, how much he's grown over the past 4 years of his career. Because if you look at it, it's hard being in Alabama, right? Because you've got for one, you have to wait,
right?
And 2, it's not like Alabama open the doors up for everybody. It's the best of the best for a reason. So he finally had to wait for his opportunity. He got his opportunity his senior year, was voted a captain by his teammates, and really had a strong season, right? Because he knew that he had to. Had a career high in tackles, had a career high in sacks. I think it was about 11 and a half. And he really he was a presence. He was a force in the middle of middle of that defense. And I think that he's going to be doing a lot of that for Washington this year. Like, he's obviously not going to be in front of Deron or John or anything like that. Those are top, the echelon of their positions. But I think, he's going to be in a similar way to how Ioannidis and Settle, they contributed a lot. He's going to be doing a lot of the same now. I mean, he's not going to be able to contribute the equivalent of both of those players, but I think they have some really high hopes for him.
Yeah, and speaking of John Allen, he had just tweeted out today about like coming out of the tunnel week 1 and what fans would like for him to do when he comes out. One person had wrote for him to come out arm in arm with Deron Payne to show that they're still brothers for life, that they could fight and still be good. And he responded to that and said, "Oh, we're brothers for life." That's definitely, and I'm glad to see that. Sorry, Andy.
No, that's fine. Zach, you mentioned earlier about the schedule. What pressure do you think that puts on the team? Because us as fans know that the schedule is slightly easier. Do you think that puts added pressure on the team to perform more? Because we're going into games now where we should say, hang on a minute, we really should be winning this. Where last season we were kind of like, if we can get something out of this game, that's good. Do you think that's a good pressure to have as a team? Or do you think that the weight of expectation could weigh on the team in certain games?
That's a great question, Andy.
It is a very good question. And I'll give you two answers. One is the coach speak and one is my real answer.
Okay.
The coach speak will tell you that, well, look, this is the NFL. Every team is competitive. Every team is good. And the margin for what's good and bad in the NFL is like about this much. It's also kind of a John Allen answer because that's something he would say all the time. But no, I think, pressure is an interesting word because, on one hand, like you say, like they won 7 games last year with, one of the most difficult seasons. And this season is exponentially easier. So maybe it does prevent like a decent amount of pressure. But I think if it does, I think they're more than willing to take it on. Because that's probably because I think Rivera believes really heavily in what they're able to accomplish this season. I mean, I'll bring it up again, going back to last season, like he's been saying, this is the year 3 is the time. Like, we're going to take a big step forward this year. And it's interesting because he keeps bringing it up, not unprompted too. And that I've observed Rivera for the past 3 years now. Oh, I guess 2 technically. He was hired in 2020. But when he wants to get a message across, he will say it over and over and over again, with a little bit of a dash of new information here and there, but it's always about the same message. That's why I've always admired Rivera, because he's very good at conveying a singular, solid message, and it seems like he hasn't wavered at all. No matter what's happening with this offseason, I feel like offseason has been very, very solid, and I think he really truly believes that this team is going to make a very serious step. And I think if he believes it, he has this locker room down pat. I think they're going to believe in it too.
Absolutely, Zach. Now, to wrap up, I only got a couple more questions for you. My first one being, of the players that were injured last season for majority of the season that are coming back, who do you think will have the best year this year?
That's a good question too, because there's a lot of players, right?
Right. You got Chase Roullier, you got Chase Young, you have Montez Sweat, right?
Yeah. I think the easy one, we could probably throw out Chase Young. That's an easy one. Logan Thomas, that's probably also an easy one. I'm gonna
only pick one though.
Yeah. This will be the Highlander of answers here.
It can't be me.
For all those late millennials that get that joke, I think I'm gonna go with one that's a little bit more outside of the grain. But J.D. McKissick, I think, is going to be one. Okay. Kind of ties back to my belief in Brian Robinson, because they obviously J.D. can do a lot of different things. AG can do a lot of different things, and that's great and everything. But they both had to run between the tackles more often than maybe they not as more often than maybe the coach would like them to, because it's a lot of physical wear and tear on their bodies. Yep. And you want them to use their athleticism a little bit more, to other areas. And Brian Robinson can do that. Brian Robinson that's what he made a career out of at Alabama. He was a downhill runner that's going to run people over. And when you have a guy like that, it's going to allow you to, JD, who's so exceptional at being a pass catcher and getting yards after the catch, he's going to be able to have more freedom to do that. And I think it's really going to be special because I think once he got hurt last year, the whole narrative kind of changed a little bit on the team because he's so valuable to what he brings outside of just running the ball. And once he comes back, I mean, you think about it, you got a backfield with AG, JD, and Brian Robinson. Then you add that with all the other weapons they have. Like, I think it's gonna affect the entire offense more than just his own position.
And then my last one for you. You alluded to it earlier about the schedule being easier than last season. You could say just by looking at it and predicting. We don't know what the win totals are going to be. But what does the win total have to be for this season to be considered a success?
Well, Vegas puts the number at 7.5. And I think personally, I think it's a little low for me. But I think, for me, it's getting to 9-8 at least, because this team hasn't really had an above 500 record since 2012, I believe. Or no, well,
I think they did under Jay Gruden a couple times. It was like 9-7.
Yeah. But either way, it's been a long time.
Right. Yeah.
It
wasn't consistent winning either.
Yeah. So I think at this point, you need to get back to about 500. And honestly, if we look at what wins this division, it's about 9 wins.
Yeah.
It's about 9-10 wins.
It has been.
This division is always competitive. So if you can just at least get to 9-8, you put yourself in a good spot. Now I think this has potential to get to 10-11 wins. I think that'd be fantastic. But I think for right now, you just got to focus on getting above 500.
Yeah, it's so funny. When we were going over the schedule last episode, we were like going through everything, and we were like, I feel weird doing it, but like we could be 4-1, 5-1. We're like, how weird would that be in this area, being 4-1, 5-1, getting ready to go into the schedule and having a nice stretch of games coming up.
Anxiety's gonna be through the roof at that point.
I know.
You're like, we don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, I've been like that since Jim Zorn was 6-2.
I'll tell you, I haven't since I've been here. We haven't had a winning record, and I mean, getting 3-2, would just be like that help me out a lot because everyone's gonna be looking at our content more than we win as opposed to.
Absolutely. Well, Zach, I can't thank you enough for joining us again, brother. I hope you enjoy your weekend and keep up the great work and get some rest, brother.
All right, I appreciate it. Y'all have a good weekend.
You too.
Make
Zach.
some yummy desserts, please.
Thanks, Zach.
Pictures of them.
And send it to us. All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Zach Selby, but now we are now joined at full force with Hall and Reed, who are now back. Look at Hall with a hat on. What are you doing with the hat on, dude?
Damn.
Trying to get like y'all, man. Y'all always rocking hats. I felt
Yeah, no doubt.
Andy, I had to talk about the fact you're wearing the T-shirt, the Podfather shirt. I can't thank you enough for doing that.
Oh man, it's like you got Freddy Krueger on the front of your shirt.
I know, it's so ugly. Such an ugly mug sitting there on that T-shirt. Man.
I wear it twice a year, today and Halloween. That's it.
Yeah, because he looks like he was lit on fire and put out with a fork or something on it.
Yes,
it's a good look.
But before we get into fan questions, of course, Andy, we have a long history with you coming onto this podcast, of being a friend of the podcast. But it just got announced that you just put on Twitter last week or so that finally, after 2 years, we're going to finally be able to meet you coming to week 1. How excited are you?
I can't wait, mate. It's gonna be super good. We arrive on the 8th of September. We're getting on a flight for I think it's a 9-hour flight over to DC. But yeah, me, Scott, I think there's 7 of us now, all booked, done, flights, accommodation, all booked, and that's could be going up to as much as 10 of us coming over by the first game. But yeah, it's going to be a great weekend, man. And it's I probably can't talk about everything on the podcast that's going to happen that weekend, but it's going to be awesome just to be at FedEx. I've said to so many people, it's so weird. I watch every game usually on my own on TV to just be there with you guys and experience what you guys can do every weekend for like me, Scott, Andy, and all the other guys from the UK that are coming over. It's going to be just remarkable just to hang out with you guys, meet all the other content creators, and just hang out and do what normal football fans do on a Sunday, just go to games.
Yeah, and then be just petrified. But it was funny because Scott had messaged us in the Discord chat server asking for basically like hotel advice in the area, and I didn't respond. And it wasn't until later you DM'd me and saying that you're staying in a hotel in Oxon Hill.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
I have no idea where this place is. I've spoke to some people. They're like, "Yeah, you'll be okay," and then other people have like, "Can't just send me like the eye emoji?" I'm like, "Oh my god, where the hell are we staying?"
Maybe. I mean, shout out, peace and love, Oxon Hill, love, no doubt. But maybe look somewhere else too.
Okay. We're gonna get killed.
No,
You can blame
No.
Scott. Scott booked it.
Yeah, no, you won't. It's not that bad. They're nice. They're nice people.
We're like I said to Scott, we're literally going to be there like a matter of hours, just
No.
somewhere to lay our head of an evening.
We'll send Reed down there for protection for you.
Oh yeah, no, that'll work out well. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, I might just wear this T-shirt. You'll be fine.
They'll be like, oh yeah, we're not gonna shank you because you got the Podfather on you.
Yeah, exactly.
See Reed, like, look at that white boy. That's a dangerous guy. But
Yeah.
let's move on to our fan questions. And we're going to start off with the Discord chat server with Sergio Martin over in Spain. He wants to know, he says, I've seen many drafts that put us finishing with the worst record of the division. Are experts more realistic than me? Because I don't see us being worse than New York Giants. What do you think, Hall?
I think it just goes back to Carson Wentz. Everyone just has this like perception of Carson Wentz that he's like a top or a bottom 5 quarterback and he's so horrible and he's the worst teammate that's ever graced the locker room and he's just all around horrible guy. So I guess they think that the defense, because how it started last year, even though I guess they didn't watch the second half of the season, how they finished, but I guess it's like how they started. They think that his defense isn't really what it is on paper, I guess. So all that combines into, and then the fact that people just hate on Washington, not even hate, they just literally they just hate Washington for various reasons. But I think all that combines into people just assume that we're going to have a top 5, top 10 pick because I don't even know why. We haven't really had top 5, top 10
We
pick.
don't ever. Like, that's the funny thing is, like, usually we're in the middle. Like,
It's funny
that's
'cause people make fun of us for being in like NFL purgatory, just straight in the middle. So it's like I don't know where they get this top 5, top 10 every single year.
I feel like the year we had the second pick really, chapped us a little bit because
Yeah.
everybody's like, we knew they were bad, but
right. And what about you, Andy? What do you think about what Sergio Martinez is saying? Do you think that the experts know more than him with this team, and do you see them being worse than New York?
Oh, no, I don't think we're going to be worse in New York. I think the thing we have to get over in Washington is perception versus reality. We all perceive us to be a good team, and we are. But in reality, there's always something that, whether it be injuries, whether it be a quarterback getting injured in the first quarter of his first game last season, whether it be running backs getting injured or tight ends getting injured or Chase Young getting injured. So we have to overcome so many obstacles. In reality, yes, we are better than the New York Giants. On paper and what we perceived over the last few seasons, we really need to, turn that around and prove that we are as good on paper. In reality, as we are on paper this season, I think we've drafted well. And to say the New York Giants are better than us, but they are a bit of a bogey team for Washington in the division. But over a whole season, I'd like to think that we would finish above the New York Giants.
Yeah, Sergio, how I usually am about this sort of thing, but I can understand from a national perspective why these experts do what they do, because the ones that pick us to have great seasons typically are usually wrong, more so than the vice versa aspect of that. The people that think we always will do bad are typically more right than usual. So I can understand from that mindset. But by looking at this team in detail like we can see the transformation of this team, the growing progress of this team, and seeing that they are not far away from being able to contend. The one big difference is that the fan base around here isn't used to the way that you have to build a good football team. So they're used to the old Dan Snyder way where things didn't turn out well, but they see the Rams do it and they're like, oh, why aren't we doing that? We got to chill a little bit. It doesn't usually work out. So I agree with you, Sergio. I don't think that we're worse than New York. It's just the experts just trying not to be wrong. What do you think, Reed?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I will say that New York does seem to have our number when we play them a little bit, but Daniel Jones also becomes a Hall of Famer in those games. It's very weird, but it's one of those things where it's like it's the same old teams. Like if you really go around the league, like except for like the Browns, they've made huge splashes and they have these first overall picks that are panning out. Like it's the same. It's the usual suspects. Like us, granted, we're a level higher than I would say like the Jaguars or the Texans or some of these teams. And the Lions. It's like you still kind of look at it and you automatically just assume that we won't be there, but these people must not have obviously watched last season when we had the toughest division in the NFL, still finished with 7 wins after winning the division the season before that. And Ron Rivera entering his 3rd season, we've added some much needed talent. We've fixed some positions of need, albeit except for linebacker, but still like we shouldn't be anywhere we should be better, especially with an easier schedule. So yeah, I do think that we're just kind of being overlooked and it is what it is. It happens. The people that actually know what they're talking about who have really looked at this roster, like I hate to say it, but RG3 has, you can tell the way that he talks. Those people, Dan Orlovsky, I think that they're people that really understand this roster and what we're doing. But most of the media, yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now let's move on to Twitter because I want to go to this question in particular because I feel like we got some fantastic questions for this episode, guys. Just want to give you a heads up. But this one's from Commander OC Andy. I want you to answer this first. He says, "Can you believe all of these preseason rankings coming out? What truth is there to these rankings, and what is your response to people that look down on our franchise in such ways?"
The rankings, no, I don't pay any attention to that, to be honest. With preseason, it's preseason. You're hardly going to see any of your ones play until the last game. You're going to see maybe a few of the guys you drafted. So rankings as far as preseason, even me as a Washington fan, I don't care. So I and people. How many times have we said over the years now, even when I very first met you guys a couple of years ago now, people are always looking down in this organization. Mm-hmm. And they always will, and we can say it till we're blue in the face, and Dan Snyder's here, and yada, yada, yada. And you kind of get used to it as a Washington fan, but you keep hearing all this outside noise. And I think now even, we all try and shield ourselves from that because we're just so used to it as fans. You know what I mean? We're getting used to it every season. Well, Washington won't really do much, or, have a shitty stadium, or, their team's always sucked, and yada, 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 yada. And one day that cycle is going to end, and we're just going to look at everyone in the media and go, what are you actually going to report about now? And what are you going to talk about now? Because the team's actually quite good, and there's going to probably be a lot of media guys that go, I don't know how to react to this. I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? So all these people that look down on our organization, let them. But like Reed said, it could be worse. We could be like the Jaguars and, the
say
Cowboys. The Jaguars.
Yes, you guys say it right. Every time I read it, it's Jaguar, and we're all like Jaguars. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's Jaguars. Thank you. It's tight. You guys get it.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
that was very well said, Andy. OC, I will say, I do believe all these rankings coming out. First off, being that generally this team doesn't do well when expectations are high. It's not until they're considered underdogs that they won't do anything is when they actually do perform well. 2012 is a great indicator of that. Leading into the season, people were projecting us to win like 4 games or something like that, and then things started happening. And so I love when we're the underdogs. I love it when people look at our franchise this way, especially given the fact of how they have transformed. Because it's funny when you look at it, it's like, oh, is that who we are? Then make sure you remember that when we start playing well, so you guys can come correct when you look at us. And that's the kind of attitude that I want when I look at stuff like this. When I see national guys piling on, yeah, that's fine. Keep doing what you're doing. It's just going to be funny when we keep the receipts when time comes. Talk about Rivera being a dinosaur, all this other crap nonsense. It's utterly ridiculous to me. What ground do we stand on as Washington fans to say that we'd be better off without Rivera, that Rivera is a dinosaur? It's ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. We went through a young OC at one time, D'Angelo Hall, and you were on the team at that time. And it was catastrophic to the point where they almost had to let go of the owner because of the sexual misconduct that was running rampant. So, look, I understand that you guys think Ron Rivera isn't all that good. You don't see the product yet. But the fact being is, it will happen. The darkest is always before dawn in the night, and that time is coming. But I will say, what is my response to the people that look down on the franchise in such ways? I can understand it. They're not here. Like, they're not fans of us. You know what I mean? Like, they're not watching this team. They don't really care. They're just like how I look at the Lions. Like, oh, man, Lions. Who cares? Same aspect. And I can understand it because they haven't done anything to warrant that kind of respect. And that's why this year it's no excuses. But, Andy, to your point where you last led with, like, what are the national guys going to react with when we start winning games? It's going to be excuse time. It's going to be, oh, the record was really easy. The divisional guys, blah, blah, blah. But the funny thing is, on the flip side of that, when things are bad, when Washington would have a good excuse, they don't like to use it. It's only when the good things happen. What do you think, Reed?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And I mean, just to add to what you're saying, every year there's teams that the media looks at and they just kind of completely brush off, like the Bengals last season. They were supposed to finish last in their division, and they don't really actually look at the team and how they're put together and the strengths that they have and how that can translate to winning games, especially like it's not about really how good you are. It's about who you face at certain times and what's going on. And I think that we will be okay. I think that it's funny, like D'Angelo Hall's comments and stuff. Like, I almost feel like he's just trying to make.
What was all his comments? I didn't see them all. What did he say?
Like Kyle said, talking about the offensive coordinator, ragging on the entire coaching staff, saying Ron Rivera's overrated, kind of a dinosaur type.
He said he was an average head coach.
Right. I don't know too many other average head coaches though that have won coach of the year twice. I mean, that's a pretty exclusive list. So maybe check yourself. You were an average DB. If I'm being honest, you were, but we don't want to talk about that. But
Dude, do you know how many times I defended D'Angelo Hall over the year?
Me too. Oh yeah. Dude, I'll still defend him.
Dude,
but
I used to get in arguments with Hizzer all the time because he hated D'Angelo Hall. He's like, get him out of here. I'm like, no, that's my Virginia Tech boy. Chill. He's like a veteran presence on the team. Those out and ups, to stop and goes, dude, all day, every day on D Hall.
But also shout out to D Hall, a friend of the show. He's been on the show. So like shout out to you and your family. Peace and love.
He hasn't
Didn't
been
mean
on the
anything,
show.
but yeah, he has. Yeah, him and Santana. He was on it like the week before Santana was on.
I did.
Remember, he was at his kid's practice.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
my
on his
goodness.
It was on his cell phone, wasn't he? Yeah, I remember that.
How do I
He
forget
was on his cell
about
phone.
that, dude?
Yeah. All right, you A-lister. How many of these
My
football
bad,
players do you
my
talk
bad,
to?
my
You know?
bad.
My name's Carl. I've interviewed so many famous people.
It's
I
like
don't
the
know.
week of the Pro Bowl. He was, like down in like Orlando or something like that.
Yeah, and I think he was in Vegas for whatever reason.
No, he was. He was at he was in Florida for his kids' flag football tournament. That's
Yeah,
what it was.
that's what you're saying though. But I'm just saying.
I got you. Hall, what do you think about comments?
I mean, yeah, you guys pretty much laid it all out there. Like, I get kind of like salty when I see those lists where they rank us so low, is because obviously like you like the national people, they don't really like focus in on Washington. They just kind of look at, oh, well, how they finished last year. Oh, they haven't made no big changes, no big additions. They'll probably be the same again this year. And it's kind of just like I said, I get kind of salty, but then like I said, when I see guys like Nick Wright putting their season records out there, and it's like he has us at 4 wins, but then he has the Bears at 11 wins. I'm like,
Right.
hey,
Well,
clearly I don't know, you're just trying to make like some clickbait or like some splash stuff. I don't know what's going on, but as far as like the people that talk about the organization, like you said, I get it. And I mean, look, there's definitely more negative that comes out publicly than there is positive. So I get why they look down at the organization. But at the end of the day, a lot of that negative stuff is always like off the field stuff. It's never really anything that has to do with on the field unless it's like during the season and they're analyzing game by game.
right.
So to that, I just say all you got to do is start winning, and you can talk about the off-field stuff all you want to, but winning will over trump that. And like I say, you just got to come out there, show and prove it this year. And if they don't show and prove it this year, I mean, we're just right back to square one, honestly, I think. But I think this will be the year that they go out 10-plus wins, make the playoffs, make some noise. And I'm not going to say they're going to shut all the national guys up, but it's definitely going to make them look at Washington. Like, okay, maybe they're starting to get back on the right track.
Right. Well, also, I mean, to your point, like PFF put out a thing, and they ranked every team's offseason. They gave us a C-, which was the worst in the division. And it's like, how can you even say that though when Dallas lost 2 starting offensive linemen? They lost their best wide receiver, arguably, and they're 2 of their top 4 wide receivers, to be honest. And like, they didn't make any signings. They didn't bring anybody. I mean, so it's except for bringing back Michael Gallup. It's like we replaced Brandon Sheriff with multiple spots. We added a better quarterback. Like, I just don't understand the logic behind it. But then again, that's a PFF for you.
I will say this though, if you like actually like, I know a lot of like national people like were like working the DC market like at one point in their life, like Jason Lockenfora, like what's the check?
Michael Wilbon and stuff, Tony Kornheiser,
Wilbon, all those guys. And I feel like they have some type of gripe that they were just like treated so badly here, and like whatever happened behind the scenes, personal to them. So like, even when there's positive things going on, they're going to find the nitpick things to kind of nitpick at and kind of pull on that negative string, try to bring it back to the light. But again, like I said, at the end of the day, all they can do is win on the field and just kind of show and prove like it's a new era, new change, and new culture.
Yeah, I think there's a huge truth to what you're saying, Hall. Essentially, that those mainstream guys that do have a personal connection here and have a personal gripe with Snyder, essentially, or have that personal kind of bias that they attach with everything that happens to the team. So when you have great people coming in here, and despite what the owner is and what he has done, trying to rebuild and turn things around, it really does slow things down for the new regime trying to right the wrongs. And when they essentially just try to pile on with that bias, because they're looking at it as Snyder, when in reality he's kind of cut off if you really look at it from a football perspective. But the next question is from our Discord chat server. Andy, I'm going to go to you with this. This is from another Andy, an Andy that's in the UK and that you're actually friends with. Oi! Andy Lockhart. His question, Andy, is, I love Ron, but is he now classed as a dinosaur when it comes to roster building in today's NFL?
No, I don't think he's classed as a dinosaur. I think what he's seen is in the NFL. He's kind of, you don't get much of it in the NFL because all these young coaches, they're all up and coming. He's kind of old school and he sticks with what he knows. And Why shouldn't he? Because it's what he's got him to where he is now. So a lot of people might frown on that and go, well, they'll see that as a dinosaur, as in quote unquote. But I think he's very meticulous in what he does. I think he sticks to a plan. I think he knows what he wants to do. And, is it the modern way of coaching? No, but it's what it's got him to where he is. It's what got him to a Super Bowl. It's what's got him he's had successful teams in the past. He probably knows within himself that he's probably got to tweak his coaching methods here and there, which he's probably trying to do, which is why he's surrounding himself with, he's probably leaning on people like Scott. Yeah, he's probably leaning on everyone that he can trust. He's saying, hey guys, this is my bubble. We all do it. I'm a football coach over here, soccer guy. I had the same guys come and work with me at 3 different teams I've been at. You go to the people that you know and you trust. So to say he's a dinosaur, I'm getting a bit sick of people saying that. Really, he's not. He has a method. It's his method, and we just have to ride it out and see if it works.
Yeah, you're 100% right. No, I don't think he's a dinosaur, considering based on how he's building the roster, Andy. Simply because they've been aggressive in everything, reportedly, like Selby likes to say, in going after Matt Stafford and going after Russell Wilson and these other guys. They've been aggressive in acquiring those quarterbacks. And look, you can sit here and say that they're a dinosaur. If you want, if that makes you sleep at night, that makes you feel better with your despair and everything, sure, go to bed with that. I don't care, because that's not how I feel. What I feel is that Ron Rivera is not, I think he is stubborn, but not to a fault. Because one thing he always talked about was John Madden talking about analytics and saying, trust your gut, trust what you see on film, trust with your eyes. Don't always go with the numbers, still use that to your advantage. And I feel like that's the way he is with roster building, where he knows how to build a roster, how to build his team, and he's not going to conform and twist his methods in order to be acceptable based on what the NFL is doing and what the fans want. I think he wants to do what he wants to do, and he has confidence in himself, and he's going to stick to that. But like Andy said, he's going to make adjustments, because life is about evolving. I mean, let's be honest, about adapting, and you're always going to have to do that. And I'm sure he is doing that. Obviously, with the Jahan Dotson pick and other stuff like that, they're really doing a good job at it. So no, I don't think he's a dinosaur in roster building. I just feel like the fan base in this area is not used to a actual good, sustainable team being built from the ground up. What do you think, Reed?
Well, I mean, you guys touched on a lot of it, but I'll just go through a quick checklist. Is he a dinosaur? Does he have scales? Does he have an elongated face? Does he have a tail? Does he have short little arms sometimes? And was he hit by a comet before humans even evolved? No. So I don't think
you
you can
fish sticks.
Love him.
Love them. But I'm not a fish.
You just described some of my ex-girlfriends.
They might be Stegosaurus or like a Triceratops.
Paul, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I get where people kind of say that he's a dinosaur in the fact of he's one of a handful of coaches that are like above the age of 50 or 60 in the NFL. Yeah, but if you want to say he's a dinosaur, you can say Andy Reid's a dinosaur, because he's not.
He's a walrus.
Yeah, he hasn't really evolved. Like, his play calling's evolved, but you know what the difference between guys like Bill Belichick, Bruce Arians, Jim Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, guys like that.
He evolved to not have tusks. That's pretty interesting. And to walk on land.
They won. So like you can say that they're old school in their ways, but they also had quarterbacks that were the driving force of their team. So is Ron Rivera like a dinosaur in today's age? You could say that because it's a passing league, it's a passing game, and it's more of like a finesse game on offense nowadays. And he's more of that hard-nosed, grinded out, tough team, defensive-minded coach. And to that, I would say, so what? There's different ways to skin a cat in the NFL. As long as you come out with a W at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. As long as you got the most points on the scoreboard at the end of the day, that's all you can judge them on. So, And again, at the end of the day, Scott Turner's a younger guy. You have a lot of guys that are younger guys in the coaching staff that are like more connected to the players. And you have a core, like a really good core of younger players. So are we building through free agency? No, but at the end of the day, it's also free agency. It's the free agent's choice to come here if they want to come here or not. So we can't really be like he's not evolving with the times, because we're not building a team through free agency. You got to actually want to come to Washington, D.C. and play for this team, to be a free agent to play for this team. So I think that they win some games this year. Like I said, it all goes back to winning. You build a winning culture, people want to come here and play. And that's all it comes
The
down to.
only thing you can do to really find out if he's a dinosaur is you can hire Fred, Scooby, Shaggy, and the rest of the gang. And if they can rip his mask off and there's a dinosaur under there, then yeah, I guess you can call him a dinosaur. If not, then sorry. Got to go back to the drawing board. Somebody else.
Scooby Snacks. No, I think you're absolutely right about that. But one thing I will say to add to piggyback off of that, Hall, before we move on, Dan Snyder, when he first took over, obviously hired yes men, and he would just do things in order to build based on what the NFL was doing, based on what he thought would be a good football team. And we kind of saw how that could go down by those big offseason acquisitions and free agents and stuff like that. It's the first time that they're actually building through the draft. I know it's foreign to everybody, but this is the best way to do it without splash plays. And you're not going to like it, but the fact is you're going to like it when they start winning football games.
Shouldn't you be happy that they said that they didn't overspend in free agency so that way they could get deals like Terry's done and stuff, you know?
And
Isn't that like part of the...
Speaking of, my friend, Reed,
I read your notes.
Go to you first. This question is from Jeff Miles in the Discord chat server. I'm going to tell you, these are some heaters. Terry has never made the NFL's top 100 players list, which is BS in his opinion. Why is that? And do you think he'll be on the upcoming list, Reed?
Yeah, so the NFL top 100 players this last 2 seasons, we've talked about it a little bit, and it's literally remember they had DK Metcalf like 21. It's like no matter, in no world is DK Metcalf that good. I'm sorry, but it's because he's popular. He played with Russell Wilson. They had a lot of primetime games. A lot of the fans knew him. A lot of the players, they just vote for these people.
Fantasy football.
Pretty much. Terry will be on this. Look, if Terry goes off like we all expect him to, they're not going to be able to keep him off of this. And I feel like somebody like DK, I hate to keep bringing him up, but like he's more flashy in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, so Terry's just kind of like, it keeps his mouth shut, goes out there and does his job. DK's more kind of in your face. He's got the size. He's got the great body. He's got the great measurables. So, but yeah, Terry will be on there. It's a joke. That entire top 100 list can kind of be laughed off at times. Like they have some guys sometimes on there that you're like, I'm sorry, you said he's better than who?
They had Kyle Juszczyk on there last year. That's all you got to say.
Right.
Dude,
Yeah.
seriously.
And he's a nice guy, great guy, but
He's a fullback. So I mean, he's a great guy, but he's a fullback.
But let's be honest here, Jeff. I think we all know the reason, and you kind of alluded to it in your explanation, your second question. If it's because of his team and the quarterback situation, what does that say about the talent elsewhere in the league on teams that are on our level or below? And I agree with what you're essentially saying, and it is because of the team. Obviously, we have that negative connotation attached to us. Maybe not with the name change or everything like that, but just everything around this football team and the perpetual losing. Terry unfortunately got grouped in with that. But Terry is ours, and I don't care about the top 100 list. Terry is an elite wide receiver in this league. I know that in my heart that he is an elite wide receiver. He'd be a number 1 wide receiver for a lot of teams in this football league, in this league, and they would love to have him. But I think we all know the reason why he's not on there. If you give him a better quarterback, he will be on there. And it's the chicken or the egg argument with DK Metcalf and Russell Wilson, with A.J. Brown and Ryan Tannehill. Same thing. I don't think A.J. Brown would be able to flourish like Terry has, given the same situation that Terry was in. Vice versa with DK Metcalf. I don't think he's putting up the same production. He's not giving the same effort that Terry was game in and game out. That's why Terry is better than all of them. But look, I don't need acceptance in order to have confidence in Terry McLaurin that he's an elite wide receiver. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, no, 100% with you. I mean, you look at the quarterback merry-go-round that poor guy's had since he's been in Washington. Man. You know what I mean? He's had so many different people throwing him the ball. You know what I mean? It's amazing that he's got to where he's got, and he's kept his cool, and he hasn't thrown his toys out the pram. You know, he could have been a complete diva over his time in Washington, saying, "Look how many people I've had throwing me the ball." He's had 3 quarterbacks in one game. You know what I mean? So, so the fact that he's, he will be an elite a wide receiver. You go and put him in like at Green Bay. If you had Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball, you have Tom Brady throwing the ball. Hopefully, this season will be the first season where he has consistency. He's going to have a full preseason, OTAs, minicamp, anything. He's going to have a full preseason with one quarterback, and they're going to get. Hopefully, that synchronicity will come. And you watch. You've only seen the thing is, you've only seen a tiny bit of what that man can do.
Yeah.
You give him a consistent QB who can get him the ball on a regular basis and getting him to get it into areas where he can affect games. That's what we haven't sometimes had at Washington. You know what I mean? You don't want Terry really coming underneath to get the ball. You want him doing what he does best. You want him getting down the field. You want him running them routes that we all know that he wants to run as well. And I think we'll have that this season in Washington.
Absolutely. That was very well said, Andy. What do you think,
Paul?
Yeah. Well, first, I definitely think that not only him, but I think Jonathan Allen will be on the list this upcoming, I guess, offseason in July, August, whenever they make the list and do the
He
show.
should be.
Yeah, he should be. Because honestly, like Terry's never really gotten like that national recognition, but it's just funny how this year he's up for a contract, and all of a sudden he's lumped in with all these other elite wide
Yeah.
receivers. He's all talked about and how he's underappreciated. He should go to another team. So it's just funny that he was never recognized until all of a sudden it's time for him to get paid. Now all of a sudden he's elite in everybody's national media's eyes. But
Same reason why Sheriff was an All-Pro, to bump up his asking price.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, to your point, it's definitely BS that he hasn't made it over the past couple of years. And to you guys' point, like you just said, it's definitely because the team he gets kind of bogged down into the bottom of the league, kind of like with like the Jaguars and Lions and guys like that, just because of the team and the overall perception of the team. And like Andy said, if Carson Wentz can stay healthy, play at least 15 to 17, all 17 games, I definitely think that you're going to see a huge jump in Terry's numbers, barring like knock on wood, any crazy injury and anything like that. But I get that you're going to see a huge jump in his catches, his yards per catch, probably most likely his touchdowns as well. I definitely think the red zone is going to improve as well. So it's going to be a big year for Terry. I mean, hopefully, I'm pretty sure he's probably going to get paid, and I'm damn sure think he's going to live up to that contract when he gets paid this year.
I hope he does get paid. That franchise tag will give me anxiety, to say the least. But, Hall, to keep it with you, let's finish with this last question from Jeff Miles. And this is a fantastic question in regards to FedEx Field. What would you as fans want to see on a mural at FedEx?
A mural.
Muriel, my bad. I don't know why I read it that way.
I would want to see like maybe like a legend from like each era of like Washington, like from the beginning of the team, like the Braves, I think they were, all the way up until like obviously the Redskin years, the Hogs era, Joe Gibbs, the Sean Taylor years, and up until like the Washington football team years, and then now to the Commanders years. And I mean, I guess you would put like Terry's face on there because he should get paid and be the face of the franchise for this era. But I think that would be cool to kind of tie in the past all the way up to the present. Just have a big mural of like all the legendary like members of the organization throughout the years.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot, Hall. I'll one up you just a little bit, just to add some sauce on it, some fire hot sauce from Taco Bell.
Any bigger than that, I'm sorry.
But I think you're absolutely right with like basically using the mural to basically educate the younger fan base on what's happening, right? And so you could have the first one being like a gold background, and that being Riggins holding the ball, running with the 44 facing you. Then the next mural being Burgundy, and that being Sean Taylor diving at the pylon against the Eagles for the touchdown to get them into the playoffs. And then the black could be the Taylor Heineke dive for the pylon. I don't know. Just basically, essentially showing a timeline of the past, Sean Taylor, and then the future as well. And the black being the future because that is the added color along with it. And I would absolutely love something like, maybe like you said, Terry McLaurin catching one of those insane balls or something like that. And then the last part of it, leave it empty for when this next Super Bowl comes. I feel like that'd be really cool. But I love the question, Jeff. What do you think, Andy?
Something like Joe Theismann throwing the ball and Terry catching it, so you're kind of putting in the past and the current,
that.
You want to incorporate the new fans, and we're trying to get new fans. It's not easy in Washington, but something like that, something where you are incorporating where we've been, and we used to be good at one stage. Incorporate all them guys and get the current try and build a kind of not a celebrity status, but like a hero status with the players that we've currently got. Let's get people excited about who we've got in our building now, because I think sometimes we're so doom and gloom about what we've got now. We actually do have some very good players and a very good team. So let's build them up a bit more.
My man. Reed, do you have any suggestions on what you would like?
Maybe like a mural of like Bruce Allen and all those good guys. Yeah. No, you guys all hit it. I mean, I like the idea of the future or the past to the present, kind of going through all that. And I like the black having like the futures on that. I like it. I mean, I think you got to include just legends like Darrell Green, John Riggins, Joe Theismann, Sean Taylor, some of these other chaps, Clinton Portis, Tana. And then, of course, you obviously got to have.
Please leave CP off that list.
Terry.
Damn good.
You got to have like D'Angelo Hall. And
now let's move on to our next question. And Reed, I'm going to keep this with you. This is from the Colonel, and this is specifically about you. Mike Reed's BFF Logan had a number of draft prospects that he was training and mentoring. Did we get any of his favorites?
Yeah, I mean Cole Turner, that's somebody that he didn't trade him, no, but he kind of brought him up. He kind of introduced us a little bit to him. Just talking about him, but we didn't take anybody that he trained necessarily. Even a couple of our undrafted guys, as far as I know, they're people that he had heard of and definitely read up on and did some tape on, but I don't think they necessarily worked out with Logan at all.
No, yeah. So he coached Greg Dulcich at UCLA. The second was Jelani Woods out of Virginia.
Yeah,
and the third was Charlie Kolar out of Iowa State.
Yeah,
and,
yep.
No,
yeah.
we didn't get any of those guys. But I think didn't Dulcich go to the Broncos?
Yeah, he did. That's a great fit, by the way.
That's a great fit for him.
Yeah.
He's going to be huge in fantasy this season. I feel like that's a late round sleeper that people can really, really bank on. What do you think, Hall?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to get Jelani Woods. I feel like he's going to be a great red zone target, great red zone asset and also a great middle of the field asset. But yeah, it would have been nice to get one of those guys. But I definitely think that Cole Turner can definitely fill the void of the next good tight end in Washington.
Yeah, that's my dog. But now let's go to Twitter. Andy, this is from Steve Lim of our guy. Given the tight end depth and the recent announcement about the legend of AGG moving to tight end, how do you think he fits on the depth chart? Who's the odd man out, him or Reyes?
I think him. It's gonna. I didn't even know about this till today. I read on Twitter that he might be switching to tight end. I was like, okay, does he?
Mark Tyler sized.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
Who?
Mark Tyler.
Nice guy.
But yeah, I don't know, to be honest, mate. I mean, can he play the position? Who knows? I guess that's why, what is it? Ron Rivera always says position flex. So, to quote the Al Goldie podcast, but maybe. I think Reyes could be the odd one. I don't know how much of the field he's going to see. I mean, it could be a lot of going backwards and forwards to the practice squad for him throughout the season. But who knows? Why not try it? What have you got to lose?
Yeah, the better AGG probably has a better chance of making the squad as a tight end, which is, it really sucks for me to say I was a huge fan of AGG coming out of college. I loved his film. Obviously, there was just something going along with the learning process. I felt like he had all the tools in order to progress as a wide receiver, but this team is looking out for AGG and saying, look, man, we want to give you a chance, and this is your best spot to be able to do it at tight end. That being said, do I have confidence that he'll be able to progress in a short period of time in one offseason in order to progress enough as a tight end to be able to make the roster? I'm not 100% sure, because if it came down to Sammis Reyes and AGG, am I confident that they would pick AGG on the practice squad over Sammis Reyes? I'm not sure about that. So unfortunately for me, Steve, I do think that AGG could possibly be the odd man out, but his physicality, his athleticism combined, if you were to add some weight, I definitely think he'd be a very, very good F-type tight end. What do you think, Reed?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I mean, if you really look at the roster, I mean, there's a chance either one of them.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, because look, Logan Thomas, John Bates, Cole Turner, and then of course Sammis, now AGG. Like, I would imagine that they would rather keep Sammis just because of his untapped potential and his freak athleticism and his size, and plus he proved as a blocker last year. And AGG really, I mean, I know he was going against players that he's not going to be going against at tight end, but he still hasn't really shown much. But I think that they're hoping to get lightning in a bottle, maybe a little Darren Waller type action, but he's a different type of player. So that's obviously big shoes to fill. But I don't know. Shout out to AGG though. Hey, whatever you got to do to keep a roster spot.
Shout out to his family.
Yeah.
Hall, this next question is from John Tayman, our guy who's on the Burgundy and Gold podcast with Keith and Jesse. His question is, Hall, assuming we are looking at Gibson and Robinson as competing for the running back one duties, and I say, why shouldn't we? Which do you think gets more percentage of the snaps on first and second down this season?
I would probably say if AG can stay healthy, I'm going to say it'll be his job to lose. I think the reason they got Brian Robinson was the fact that AG's coming up on his third year. And if I had to guess down the road, they're probably not going to give him a second contract. So they're kind of preparing for the future with Robinson, kind of getting acclimated to the system and kind of getting a feel for him. But yeah, if AGG can kind of get that toe thing dealt with and stay healthy, I think it's his job to lose. So I'd go probably like 65-35 for that. I see Brian Robinson as more of that red zone guy, that short yardage guy. Kind of everyone keeps saying the Peyton Barber role, but I think it's going to be the Peyton Barber role times like 10. because I definitely think he's going to be on the field a lot more than short yardage and like red zone stuff and all that good stuff. But yeah, I would give it 65-35 AG. Just the caveat of AG staying healthy.
Yeah, I agree with you. We won't go too far into it because you got more questions. And Reed, I'll go to you the next one first. But I will say, I feel like Robinson fits a role where, as the bruiser, the late game kind of guy that you bring in to wear down that defense. So in that aspect, John, I do think that Antonio Gibson will dominate those first and second down carries, but that's barring any injury or any craziness. I do think AG is going to bounce back this season. I think he's taking the things that happened last season very seriously, and it's not an indictment of him as a player. You can progress. There's things you can do to prepare yourself in order to eliminate the major risk of like fumbling and stuff like that. So just a little bit more detailed or task orienting, and I think AJ can really fix his fumbling issues. I have full confidence that he'll be able to do that. But the next question that we have is from Mike Puckett. And Andy, I'll go to you with this. He asks, what's your over-under on Chase Young? He has it listed at 8.5 sacks.
Ooh. We need to see how he reacts coming back from injury. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, he looks good in all the videos we've seen, but players always look good when they're coming back from injury. They're not going to put the bits out where he's sitting out the back screaming in pain kind of thing. So I've got high hopes for him. A lot of people have kind of written him off already. And, you know, we kind of all had our moments when he had that second season syndrome. Then he got the injury. I'm going to go over. I think he could, and the schedule's going to help. You know, he's not going to be coming up against the elite of the elite like he potentially was last season, before the injury and stuff. So I think he's going to come back. I think he needs to get back to doing what got him to the dance, what got him drafted, you know, smash people in the mouth. Don't try and be too creative. I think he looks like one of them players to me that just needs to run through people. When you're his size and his build, just like Doc Walker said when I spoke to him, just run through people, smash them in their mouth, and just go after that QB, man. But I think he'll be over. I think he'll do really well this season.
Yeah, I hyped up Chase last year, so I'm continuing that trend. I think it's going to be over 8.5 sacks. I have full confidence that Chase Young is going to come back and do really well. One thing I will say is I would hope that he's working with some veteran pass rushers that have been in this league before, maybe possibly retired, like Robert Mathis, in order to try to find the mental way of the game and being able to get to the quarterback. I'm going over. What do you think, Reed? Quick.
Yeah, I'm going to be a homer. I'm going to say over as well. The guy's got too much skill, too much potential.
Hall?
Yeah, I'll go same. I think he has a bounce back year, comeback player of the year. I'll go 10 plus sacks.
All right, let's go bounce to Terry McLaurin, the over under 7.5 touchdowns, Hall.
Ooh. My heart is saying yeah, but I'll go right at 7. I'll go under.
You'll go under? What about you, Reed?
I'm just once again a homer. I'm going to go over. Terry's never played with a quarterback like this.
I'm going to go under. I think that Terry's going to blow up in yardage, but the touchdowns I feel like could fall to maybe the running backs or tight end. What do you think, Andy?
Over, and he's going to have 3 touchdowns in the first game of the season.
My man, I love it. Love coming with it. Now, Andy, let's keep it with you. Let's Carson Wentz over under 26.5 touchdowns.
Ooh. Yeah. Under, I think it's going to be. We need no, Homer over. He's going to be brilliant. Everything's going to be rosy in the Garden of Washington. Yeah, over. Why not?
I'm going to go over as well. I think that maybe they're going to have to figure out a way in the red zone to be able to score some points. I think Carson Wentz is going to be able to do that for him. What do you think, Hall?
I'm going to stick with what my prediction is as of right now, which is I got him going 30-12, so I'll go over.
He did. Carson threw last season 27 touchdowns with 7 interceptions. This is why that mark is at 26.5. What do you think, Reed?
I'm going to go over as well, but the big question is, does he throw 7 touchdowns again? Or I'm sorry, 7 interceptions again? Because if you go back and look at his stats, that tends to be his thing every season. That would be fantastic for us. So I'm going to say he's definitely going to throw 7 interceptions.
You're not going to put a title on it?
No, just 7.
All right. Now let's keep it with you, Reed. This question is from our guy in the UK, Scott Hartley. Oi!
Oi!
Which OTA starting Monday, which position group are you excited to see the most, and which are you most worried about?
Of course, I'm going to go with I am most excited for tight ends. I'm really excited to see Cole Turner, man. I'm really pumped about that. I think that everybody's been kind of gassing him up. And which position am I most worried about? I mean, I guess it's kind of got to be linebacker, just based off of last season and Jamin Davis's progression. But I'm excited about a lot. But by the way, I do have to go. I got to go take care of.
That's fine. Go do your thing. Do your thing, Dada.
Yeah, Andy. See you, Hall. See you.
Damn, you couldn't even finish my name. That's messed up, dude. No, but I will say that it's wide receiver Scott for me personally. Being able to see Curtis Samuel back here, seeing what he can actually do in full health, and adding Jahan Dotson. We know Diami Brown coming in. He's going to really do well. So wide receiver for me, and which am I most worried about? I said it the other week that tackle depth. I completely butchered the fact that they let Cornelius Lucas go, but they did re-sign him, which I'm very, very happy about. But that doesn't change the fact that I am concerned about tackle depth. Because I am, like Andy, you talked about before, where the quarterback gets injured in the first game of the season, right? And then it's like, you have to look at this team and say, where is that going to because it's almost guaranteed. It's just the way life goes, and that's the one area I am most concerned about that happening to. What about you, Hall?
Yeah, you already know the answer to this. I'm excited to see the wide receiver. I want to see what Curtis Samuel looks like. I want to see what the new guy Jahan Dotson looks like, and I'm gonna kind of couple that with Carson Wentz. I want to see how far along they are as far as like being like on the same page and then synchronized with each other. And the most worried about is I'd probably go that linebacker position, but I'm also kind of intrigued because all the hype has been about there's no Mike linebacker, there's no middle linebacker. So I'm kind of excited and intrigued to see what Cole Holcomb is going to do if he can take over that role and be that field general.
Yeah, and after talking to Mitch and what he reading back and listening, because like when we do the interview, it's really hard to retain every single thing that is said. So after I re-listened to it, I think he's talking about Devin Bush and he from Pittsburgh being let go by, and if that happens, go out and grab him from the Steelers. I feel like that'd be somebody you could add here. And then the linebacker down in Atlanta, Deion Jones, as well as another guy that could possibly be exiting because they just drafted Troy Anderson. So right. I would absolutely love that, to your point, Hall. Now let's wrap this up with the last question, Andy. This is from number 2 Commanders fan on Twitter. Thank you, sir. Washington's strength of schedule from last season has been discussed extensively. I am wondering what Carson Wentz's strength of schedule was with the Colts, and is Carson getting an easier road to the playoffs as well? So, Andy, last season, this was around September 7th. I got this. They had the 23rd toughest schedule in the NFL last season, so it was relatively easy.
Easy. He's got on paper, this is an easy schedule,
right?
But the pressure that's on him, the pressure that's on any quarterback when you come into Washington. But for the first time in many a year, we've actually got a quarterback who we expect things off. You know what I mean? We've had Fitzpatrick come in, we're like, he's kind of near the end of his career. We didn't really know what we were getting, what we were going to get with him. We had Taylor Heineke come in halfway through the season, so he's under a lot of pressure. But I think if he's looking at this schedule, and if like you guys were saying earlier, you know, you're most excited about seeing the wide receiver core. If we can get that all synchronized into one really good working unit. But the main thing for me really quickly is if we have to protect him. The only thing that worries me a little bit is our offensive line. You can't have all these weapons at wide receiver and you have this good quarterback, quote unquote, right now finally in Washington if you can't protect him. So I think he'll go well.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I do think it is an easier road to the playoffs for Carson, given the fact with what's happened in this offseason to the AFC. Russell Wilson going to the Broncos, and then Devontae Adams going to the Raiders. Things did get a little bit easier. I mean, Tom Brady coming back to the Buccaneers kind of screwed with things a little bit. Matt Ryan obviously left the NFC going to the Colts to replace Carson Wentz. So the NFC did get a lot easier in that breath. So I do agree with you, number 2 Commanders fan, that the road is easier for Carson Wentz with this football team. Obviously, when he was with the Eagles, we saw what they kind of did to this division when he was healthy. What do you think, Hall?
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy. Like you said, the stronger conference is definitely the AFC. Carson Wentz coming out of the AFC, he played a lot of those AFC teams. We played the AFC South this year. Obviously, he played in the AFC South last year, so he's already going to be familiar with what these defenses like to do and how they want to play him and scheme against him. So I definitely think that again, that kind of makes the path a little bit slightly easier. Obviously, you got the Giants in the division. There's going to be our own division is going to be a step up this year. It's going to be a little bit tougher. Got some great additions through the draft and teams like that. So, and obviously you got Dak and the Cowboys with that offense. So, I definitely think that they definitely have a shot to win 10 games. A lot of cupcake teams on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say cupcakes because they look at us like cupcakes.
Right.
A lot of teams that on paper we're better than and that we should beat. And again, I keep saying this. I've been saying this from the get-go. If this team thinks who they are, if this team thinks they are who they are, than everyone thinks they are, that Ron Rivera thinks they are, they're going to beat the team that they're supposed to beat every single week, like the Texans, the Jaguars, the Lions, those kind of the bottom feeder teams, if you want to call them that. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, this year's the year. So we'll see we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I really hope that the Eagles, Giants, Cowboys, they all stay healthy. And I know it's really weird to say, but the last thing I want is this football team to do really well this season, and then the excuses start coming about injuries.
But the funny thing is, even if they all stay healthy, there's going to be an excuse.
Yeah.
You're
You're
back
right.
6-4 with Alex Smith. What was everyone saying? Well, they can't sustain this. They can't keep winning like this. The quarterback play is so atrocious. Look at the offense, blah, 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 blah. They got them 6 wins on the way to 7 if they would have beat the Texans team. They were first place in the division by themselves. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. You're usually right, Hall. Andy, thank you so much for joining us, dude. I know it's really late for you, and you've had a really long day, and it just goes to show your determination and how awesome of a person you are that you would actually come on here for the full episode to give us your time. I know it was really hard for you. I'm sure you want to get to bed ASAP, but we just want to say, man, we love you, brother. We really appreciate everything that you do over there, not only for the Washington Commanders all together, but what you've done for this podcast, for me personally, as a friendship, and you were the start, my friend. Like, you really were. You were the start, and you were one of our first guests. I'll never forget that, brother. I really appreciate you coming on here, and it's been awesome to see you grow and to see you produce as much as you do, and all the you generate a lot of excitement about this football team, man.
Thanks so much, man. It's a pleasure to come. I've absolutely loved it. Anytime I get to come and hang with you guys and talk some Washington Commanders is good. And like I've said from day one, man, you guys absolutely kill it. That's why you are the best in the business. And roll on September, my man, when we're all in the same place together, having some beers.
Yeah, we aren't the best, but I appreciate it, man. We all just contribute to creating some content, don't we, Andy?
We do, my friend. We do.
All right, everybody. We will see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend. Get some great sleep tonight. Okay, Andy? You got me?
yeah, I'm going to try, mate. I'm going to try.
Dude, I'm going to bed right after this. I got a 6:50 tea time up in Frederick tomorrow, and I'm beat. I'm going to bed right after this. I'm passing out. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. I hope you have fun. It's going to be a scorcher tomorrow. Make sure you guys drink all your H2O. You get hydrated because it's going to be a heater tomorrow. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
God save the Queen.
Hey, that's great. Washington football. Woo! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched theburgundyzone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!